Welcome to Turkish Spot. Did you know Turkish series sell to more than 170 countries and have won over millions of viewers thanks to the intensity of their stories? And that's no accident. Unlike a lot of productions, these series take the time to build deep relationships, complex characters, and romances that feel real, so that every glance, every silence, and every reunion carries real emotional weight. Number 15. Family. Power has its own loyalties, its own ways of making the personal always political too. Aile is the Turkish family power drama that operates on a scale few productions in the genre allow themselves. A family with history, with weight, with the complexity of people who've spent an entire lifetime being exactly what they are, within a system they build themselves. The romance that exists within that world of power has the tension of something that can never be simply private. Nothing inside that world is ever fully private. And that impossibility of privacy produces exactly the kind of intensity Turkish romantic drama is after when it's operating at its best. The side characters have their own agendas, their own versions of the same conflict between family loyalty and personal identity. Aile proved that Turkish family drama can operate on the scale of power drama without losing the intimate heart that makes the genre matter. Can individual love survive when the institution surrounding it has more power than any personal decision? Number 14. If the king loses. Chess as metaphor. The board, where every piece has its function, and where even the most powerful can fall, if the circumstances line up just right. Kral Kaybederse takes that concept and turns it into the engine of a story where the leads are playing a match with consequences that reach far beyond the board. Two people, two sharp minds, and the specific attraction of two people who recognize each other as equals in a world where that rarely happens. The dynamic between the leads has the intellectual tension of Turkish romance, when it decides a battle of minds can be just as electric as any other kind of attraction. Every move has its answer. Every answer reveals something about the person who makes it, and the match the series builds episode by episode has the structure of something designed from the start with the ending already in mind. Can someone who always won learn to love the one person who could finally make him lose? Number 13. Love 101. A group of students at risk of expulsion. A teacher who could be saved if someone helped her find a reason to stay. And the most absurd plan possible, make her fall in love. Chantor, Arro, Korro. Aşk 101 was the first Turkish Netflix original that found global audiences in over 100 countries. And what makes it work isn't the romance between the teacher and the man the students chose for her. It's what happens to those 5 teenagers in the process of trying to pull it off. Their own stories, their own versions of a love they still don't fully understand. The later seasons take the material into more mature territory without losing the heart season 1 established. Hande Erçel brings the specific vulnerability of someone at a breaking point. And the young actors build characters the viewer wants to see survive well beyond the plan that brought them together. Can a group of teenagers change an adult's life without realizing they're also changing their own? Number 12. Between the world and us. The space between the world and the people who inhabit it. That specific territory where outer reality and inner reality don't quite line up, and where living in that gap produces exactly the kind of drama this series builds. Dünyayla Benim Aramda takes that space as the central territory of a story about connection, and about what happens when two people find that their inner worlds are more alike than the outer world ever suggested they could be. The series has the tone of contemporary Turkish drama that trusts restrained emotion over anything declared outright. That knows the gaze held 1 second too long says more than any line of dialogue designed to say the same thing. The romance it builds has the authenticity of something born in mutual recognition rather than conventional attraction. Can someone who found their own space between the world and themselves share it with someone who inhabits that exact same territory? Number 11. Last summer. There are summers that end and take with them exactly what they promised would last forever. Son Yas takes that specific melancholy of an ending and builds it into the emotional state of the entire series. The leads leave that summer knowing it has a closing date, and that awareness gives every moment the specific weight of something known to be fleeting. The romance that emerges in that context has the intensity of something aware that the time available is limited, and that limitation is exactly what produces an urgency. Ordinary love, without that constraint, can't always generate the same way. The Turkish summer landscape has the presence of an additional character: the light, the heat, the sea, all of it communicating the emotional state of people trying to live fully in the time they have left. Can something that started as the last summer become the beginning of something that lasts far beyond that season? Number 10. You Do You. A question Turkish romantic drama rarely asks quite this way. Not love as a rival, but love as active search. Rüyanda Görürsün is the rom-com that takes that search and builds it with the specific humor of a show that knows this territory from the inside. The heroine is searching, with criteria, with a very clear idea of what she wants, and that's exactly the problem. Her very clear idea of what she wants turns out to be an incomplete description of what she actually needs. The romance that emerges doesn't check the boxes, and that's exactly what makes it interesting. The series has the tone of contemporary rom-com that uses social media and dating apps as the most honest possible stage for exploring what modern love does to people who have too many options and not enough clarity about which one is right. Can someone who knows exactly what they're looking for recognize it when it arrives in a form they never described? Number 9. Thank you. Next. Modern love has its own apps, its own ways of meeting someone and unmeeting them at a speed previous generations never had to deal with. Kimler Geldi, Kimler Geçti is the Turkish rom-com that takes that completely contemporary context and uses it as the backdrop for a story that's both completely of the moment and completely timeless in what it says about people and love. The heroine navigates the modern dating world with the humor of someone who knows it from the inside and has just enough clarity to see the absurdity of every situation without ever fully stepping out of it. The next in the title is swipe culture brought into Turkish romantic drama, with a lightness the genre rarely allowed itself before. And underneath that lightness, there's something more honest about whether the love produced by modern tools is the same love it's always been, or something fundamentally different. Can someone find true love in an era where the next option is always just one swipe away? Number 8. Love tactics. Love has its own tactics, its own strategies people develop to get closer to what they want without fully exposing themselves to the risk of wanting it. Love Tactics takes that idea and turns it into the engine of a rom-com that runs with the specific energy the genre has when it finds the right pair for the right material. The leads arrive with their own well-developed tactics, their own systems for navigating love without ever fully losing control. And what happens when those systems collide has the specific comedy of two equally strategic people discovering that their strategy never accounted for the other person being exactly as strategic. The chemistry between the actors has the naturalness of something that worked from the start without the script having to force it. Available on Netflix with subtitles in multiple languages. Can someone who developed every possible tactic for love survive when the other person's tactics are exactly the same? Number 7. Last Call for Istanbul. A city, a flight, and the last chance for two people who met at Turkey's busiest airport to find what time and distance kept them from fully finding. Last Call for Istanbul is the Turkish romance that uses the airport as the most honest possible setting for a story about what happens when the right people meet at the most geographically inconvenient moment imaginable. The film has the specific tenderness of romance that knows the obstacle isn't the villain, it's the raw material. What produces the tension that makes the moment of resolution worth exactly what it cost to get there? Istanbul as the backdrop adds the dimension of a city that spent centuries being exactly the space where worlds meet. With all the beauty and all the complication that meeting has historically produced, can someone who missed a flight find exactly what they never expected to find in the waiting room? Number 6. The tailor. He has a gift in his hands. What he creates with them goes beyond what any fabric should be able to do. And that gift has a history that goes beyond anything an ordinary tailor could ever explain. Terzi is the Turkish Netflix drama with supernatural elements that uses the craft as a metaphor for something older. Hands that create can also destroy. A skill that looks like a gift can also be a burden. Peyami is complex, not the conventional hero. Someone caught in the space between two identities, discovering who he is while the world around him has already made up its mind about who he should be. The romance woven into the plot carries the specific tension of something growing in a place where danger leaves no room for ordinary peace. Çağatay Ulusoy carries the character with a presence that gives every scene weight of its own. Available on Netflix with 3 seasons. Can someone who creates with his hands learn to destroy when necessary without destroying himself in the process? Number 5. Shahmaran. The Queen of Serpents. A being of power and wisdom existing in the space between myth and reality. Shahmaran takes that figure from Turkish folklore and makes it the center of a contemporary supernatural drama produced by Netflix with the visual ambition of a team that took the material seriously. The heroine arrives as an academic, as someone who studied the myth with the distance of university analysis, and the process of having to believe, because the evidence no longer allows anything else, is the most honest arc in the series. Adana as the setting adds a specific geographic and cultural dimension. Istanbul could never have produced the same way. Southeastern Turkey, with its own history and its own ways of relating to what exists beyond the visible. Shahmaran was one of the first Turkish series to hit Netflix's global top 10 in multiple countries simultaneously. Can someone who devoted her life to studying myths survive when the myths decide to study her back? Number 4. Black Money Love. Dirty Money has its own romance. The investigation meant to stop it has its own too. And at the point where the two touch, exactly the kind of story Turkish drama handles with particular skill exists. Kara Para Aşk takes the undercover agent infiltrates organized crime premise and complicates it in the one way the genre can complicate it without betraying what it promises. With real feelings showing up in the most inconvenient possible place. Engin Akyürek and Tuba Büyüküstün built a dynamic audiences turned into a phenomenon. The tension between the mission and what the leads feel never resolves comfortably. It builds, episode by episode. With the honesty of a show that knows love born in lies has to find a way to exist in the truth, or it can't exist anywhere at all. Available on multiple platforms with subtitles. Can someone who came to destroy what the other built discover they can no longer do it? Number 3. As the crow flies. There are distances time doesn't measure correctly, that feel longer than the years that contain them, because what happened within them changed the people involved in ways the years alone can't measure. Kushu Chushu takes that distance and turns it into the engine of a reunion story, carrying the full weight of everything that happened between the leads in the time before the series finds them together again. The love that was. The reasons it couldn't keep being what it was. And the question the reunion inevitably raises, can it go back to being what it was? Or did time turn it into something different neither of them can fully recognize anymore? The series has the melancholy romanticism of Turkish drama that knows second chances cost more than first ones, that they demand more courage. Available on Netflix, one of the most talked about Turkish series of its release year. Can something that flew so far find its way back to the exact place it started from? Number 2. Ashes. Fire destroyed something, and what remained afterward isn't just ash. It's also the revelation of what lay beneath everything that burned. Ashes takes loss as the most honest possible territory for exploring who its characters are. Once every layer ordinary life allows them to keep is stripped away. Two people who find each other in the aftermath of something that changed them in ways they're still processing, with the weight of what was lost as the raw material of the entire series. What sets it apart from other lost dramas is how it examines what remains after the fire, not just the sadness, the strange freedom of someone who no longer has anything left to protect, and what two people can build when that's exactly the starting point they share. The series has the depth of contemporary Turkish drama that trusts its characters more than its situations. Can someone find their own roots at the most devastated moment of their personal history? Number 1. Another self. What if there were a version of you who made every decision you never made? Another Self takes that question and builds it with an element no other series on this list has: healing through the soul. Witintense is the Turkish series that uses past life regression as the most unexpected tool in contemporary romantic drama. 3 friends. 3 healing stories. The series weaves together with the patience of a show that trusts the viewer, is willing to follow all 3 threads at once. A concept that could sound esoteric turns out to be exactly the most honest vehicle for exploring how inherited trauma defines who we are, before we ever get a say in that design. The performances have the specificity of people who build their characters from the wound outward. The number 1 on this list because it does something few series attempt. Use the supernatural not as spectacle but as the clearest available lens for seeing the most human thing there is. Can someone heal completely when the wound they carry didn't start in this life? And those were our 15 Turkish series for adults with intense romance that absolutely belong on your list. Now we want to hear from you. Which one made you fall for its characters? What other series would you recommend for a part 2? Write it in the comments, because we read every single one, and your recommendations could show up in a future video. If you enjoyed this content, don't forget to hit like, subscribe to the channel, and turn on notifications to keep discovering the best Turkish series, premieres, and hidden gems of streaming. Thanks for joining us. See you in the next video.
The pain's in the past, move on from the grave and put your foot on the gas. No, never stop competing, yeah. I've been doing this, I'm on it. I just wanna be iconic. Sipping on a gin and tonic, got me going off when I'm on this topic.